Welcome to Warrior Startup Guys. I am your investor Sherpa, and on this channel we go over everything from how to build a company out of a napkin sketch to landing that 6 to 7 figure investment from investors such as myself. And in this video, we're going to address the 4 ways that businesses can prepare for due diligence and more clearly demonstrate business value to secure a better deal. And if you're new to this channel, please consider subscribing so that you can get more videos like this and help build a better startup. So due diligence is a critical component for every investment, whether your company is seeking a new round of venture funding, pursuing a private equity cash infusion, or positioning itself for an acquisition by a strategic or financial buyer. But the metrics each investor deems critical really varies and might not align with what a business initially considers its primary strengths and successes. Knowing what you'll face when due diligence begins and preparing effectively can help a company position itself for better negotiations, higher valuations, and then stronger outcomes. But first, let's address why it's important to begin positioning for due diligence process early as possible. So the first thing that you want to do is understand the investor's perspective. So consider a startup software company that's focused on signing up new customers and that signs up a $5 million deal with a major corporate partner. On paper, the deal is a major milestone that builds the company's momentum and generates excitement for the workforce. And while adding bookings will initially impress early stage investors, the deal structure really determines how valuable the company will be later when it's actually time to raise institutional capital from financial or strategic investors. So late stage investors are looking for more than early wins. No matter how big the wins are, they really want stability and growth and annual recurring revenues, or ARR. So proof that management can actually retain customers, scale operations efficiently, and ultimately run profitable business. So during due diligence, a potential buyer will turn over every single stone to assess the business's past and then predict their investment's future growth. Bookings of like $5 million or more might look good to a venture capital firm or a private equity firm that are taking a minority stake in an early stage startup growth, but it might not be as impressive to a buyer or majority investor that cares more about sustained growth, scalability, and profit under the generally accepted accounting principles, or GAAP. So the reality is that a company that's positioning itself for a sale or major investment may need to provide a potential investor with, up to 3 years of audited financials to get through the due diligence process. This means that management really needs to act like the company is continuously undergoing due diligence from the first time that it starts doing business to the time that it gets to the deal. So here are the 4 strategies to better prepare yourself for due diligence and then secure the deal that you want. Number 1, invest in professional accounting practices. So while bookings are important, they cannot secure financing without being converted to GAAP, or generally accepted accounting principles. So the universally accepted measure for comparing apples to apples, assessing true value and revealing the company's true worth. While VCs and minority private equity buyers may be comfortable with bookings, they're more comfortable with GAAP. And the majority of the strategic buyers will demand nothing less. While managing 2 measures of revenue, bookings and GAAP, is really a balancing act, and the smart company will do both, knowing that the more modification adjustment to accounting it does, that the weaker its negotiating position and valuation will be when it comes time for actual due diligence. And ideally, a company beyond the seed round should be closing its books in GAAP at least quarterly, and then preparing 2 to 3 years for audited accounts. So next one would be commit to the comprehensive contract reviews. When it comes to valuations, devil's really in the details. And there's no better way for the devils to hide than the contracts made pretty much in haste. And the aforementioned $5 million contract may include stipulations for comprehensive licenses or maintenance requirements that stretch the company's resources thin. And then when there's always unanticipated events, such as a customer goes through a major growth phase and the value of the company's technology assets are diluted, or payment terms that lead to unevenness in revenue. A detailed review of all business and legal contracts, along with the efforts to smooth revenue streams during the negotiation phase, can go a long way towards reducing volatility and then the impact that a buyer wants to pay. Next step, negotiate the terms. So management shouldn't be afraid to negotiate terms in standard contracts provided by large customers or vendors. So often, simply explaining to the other party the reasons why you require certain terms is enough to get modification. So if a company is far enough along in the contracting to negotiate terms, it's an indication that your customer needs your product and you have more leverage than you think. If issues that don't have easy solutions arise through contract reviews, the sellers should discuss the issues with their sell-side advisors, identify them and when getting ready for due diligence, and then disclose them to the investor up front so they can't be used to negotiate against the seller and then reduce the valuation and diligence. Next, you want to manage your cap table. So every company starts somewhere, which often means that friends and family who participated in the business's early seed rounds tend to stick around. And for the buyer, those early investors can become a barrier, and they may need to be bought out or replaced to align the company with key business contributors and then help it continue to build value. For example, a technology company that's positioning itself for a major investment needs to regularly realign the cap table to reflect the key assets of the business, which are the employees. So before making a deal, potential investors want to know that key employees will stay with the company and parties who aren't adding value won't get in the way. This means that it's important to properly incentivize key employees by giving them financial reasons to stay and then buy out non-critical parties throughout the company's life cycle. So operating in these ways keep your cap table clean and then valuable to the investor. Last thing is you want to balance ambition with realism. So along with running the company, the early stage technology CEO typically does double duty as a chief sales officer, attracting new customers, negotiating contracts, and building the momentum that early investors want to see, while the companies also have a CFO to handle the details of financial matters and due diligence. A CEO often takes on some of those CFO roles as well. But because his or her central role is the business, it's important for the CEO to build financial acumen between his or herself and the entire leadership team, especially those in business development who focus on doing deals. The CEO can then help leadership understand what to expect during due diligence, explaining how contracts they're currently signing might actually help them or hinder them in that effort. And this process can help prevent the need for a major financial overhaul when the investment or acquisition is approaching. And the last thing we want to cover are what are called quality of earning reports. So during due diligence, many investors will actually ask you for sell-side quality of earning or QOE reports in addition to requesting ongoing audits. So when preparing your report, a company will actually undergo full due diligence similar to the process performed by the buyer, and this process will help management analyze potential weaknesses and clean up historical books and records while receiving assistance from professionals who can actually advise on the best practices and then help prepare the company for negotiations. So due diligence is really a complex process that digs deep into every part of the business, and no amount of preparation can replace the intensive accounting, compliance, forensic expertise that needs to be deployed once it's underway. But there are steps that every company can take early and often to help them get a head start. And in doing so, you'll help them position for a better negotiation, higher valuations, and then stronger outcomes. Thank you guys for watching. If you like this video, then you'll probably enjoy the other videos on this channel. So make sure that you consider subscribing, and also so you can get the latest videos on building your startup.